Hello, this is Steve from Bedo's Leatherworks, and today's project is this well-worn pair of Edmonds. This is the Strand model, which is a pretty popular model. Now we're going to do this video in two parts. One part is going to be basically showing you guys what to do with the uppers. These have a lot of salt damages on them, so we need to fix that first before we get to polishing them and conditioning them up. The second part of the video is going to be resoling them, obviously. Now these are pretty well worn. I mean, the guy must have loved them to wear them this far. So once they get done, they'll look pretty nice. Alright, so let's get started. Oh, by the way, I decided to do one video instead of two videos. Things happen sometimes, so I just changed my mind. Alright, we'll see you again. Alright, so with every project, obviously we start with taking the laces out. Now this particular model, or I should say this particular shoe, it has lots of salt damages on them. You can't just polish over that. You need to take care of that first. Alright, if I can remove these laces. This is just the regular bristle, horsehair. Actually, I think this is nylon, if I'm not mistaken. This is not a horsehair. I could be wrong. Just brush them up a little bit just to get the dust off them. I think any brush will do. It doesn't have to be super expensive brush. As long as it's doing its job, that's all that matters. Now first, what we're going to do is we're going to take distilled white vinegar. Okay? This is basically going to start desalting process. Now there are products out there specifically for this problem, but you know what, this works just fine. This would be like a home remedy, Just like that, wipe it down. Now that's just the start of the process. What we're going to do is we're going to give it a bath. We're going to mix a couple of products together, and we're going to basically scrub it down. Okay. That's the first part. Alright, let's continue. Alright, so what we're going to do now is basically I fill the sink with lukewarm water. Okay. I've got a little bit of this product. It's Lincoln Easy Cleaner. Now I use this stuff to shampoo suede shoes, canvas bags, smooth leather. I dilute it 50-50. Then I usually spray the product and scrub it down. Okay. With this one, it's a little bit more work that's required to bring these back. So I mixed this, a little bit of Lexol, okay, and just regular hand soap, mild hand soap, just a little bit. Now we're going to basically saturate the shoe into the water, okay. Now this is a drastic way of cleaning a shoe, okay. I mainly do this when there's salt damage. Regular cleaning and polishing doesn't require this drastic of a cleaning process. Now once that surface is basically saturated, I scrub it down. Again, it's just a nylon bristle brush. You get it for like for your car tires and just stuff like that. Alright, once we got that, I'm going to take some newspaper, just stuff it on the inside, just to kind of absorb the moisture. That's all it really does. Then we're going to get some paper towels. We're going to wrap the shoe, just like that. Wet it down. So what the paper towel is going to do, it's going to basically absorb all the moisture from the leather, even though it's wet. Grocery bags, recycle. I think I'm the ultimate recycler. Alright, so we're going to put them in here like that. I'm going to close this off here like that. Okay. Squeeze the air out. We're just going to leave it in here for a couple of days for it to actually somewhat dry and absorb the moisture onto the paper towels. And once that's done, we're going to go ahead and start cleaning the surface of the leather of old polish and waxes and stuff like that. Alright, let's continue. Alright, once it gets removed from the plastic bag, we're going to put them in some shoe trees. Maybe smaller shoe trees. This is a little bit too big. Yeah, this one's going to be a little too big. So we'll find smaller ones and put them in shoe trees and let them dry a little bit more. Maybe another day or so until everything is completely dry. And then we can start actually cleaning up the uppers for that old polish buildup and the wax and all that. And maybe straighten out some of these wrinkles at the toe here. Alright, let's continue. Alright, now we get to start tearing the soles apart. Now this heel is, that top lift is gone. There's nothing here. This is supposed to have, this is called the top lift. Basically, it's the top part of the lift. He wore right through that, okay? Then he started wearing into the base and into the sole. Now, there's nothing salvaging about this heel base. We're going to get rid of it, and then we'll just put him a new heel base on there. It seems like every time I want to videotape something, I lose my tools. And there's two sets of everything, believe it or not. Now this base, the heel base, is made out of fiberboard. It's actually paper, compressed paper. Now some manufacturers do that. I guess it's just a cost reason. Is it bad? It seems to be holding up pretty good. It's nothing that is falling apart or anything, so. We're going to replace that heel base with the same kind. Edmonds has pretty unique future with their heel bases. Let me take this off and I'll show you real quick. This one's from another pair. Of course, I grabbed the wrong one. If you look at it, one side is taller than the other side. Okay? So this side is on the inside of the shoe. When I say inside of the shoe, this is the inside and that's the outside of the shoe. That's what we call it, not literally inside. So what happens is that this point right here is higher. It pushes up on that spot of the foot, which gives it arch support. It's a really cool feature, I think. So once that gets done, once we are ready for the new heel base, we'll put a similar kind of heel base on there. Now, can I put a leather heel base on there? I could, but I think all these years Edmonds has been using that type and seems to be working out okay. So we'll just continue with the same. Now, some Edmonds, well, I should say not some, most of them do not have shanks. This particular one does. Some models have shanks. I'm not sure which models, but this particular one does have a wooden shank. Okay. It seems to be pretty good. We'll reuse this here. If it was broken, I would replace it with a metal shank. Gives it a little bit of more sturdiness. Some people don't like that. Some people don't like metal shanks for some reason. They say that going through the airport, I mean, I think it's a little ridiculous, but whatever. I'd rather have the support for my feet than just worry about going to the airport a couple times and sounding the alarm off or whatever. It's inside the shoe. I don't think the TSA is going to mind. Alright, now that the cork's done, we're going to re-cork with new cork. Put the shank back. Clean the stitches right here. These are the stitches basically that held the sole together. Before we restitch it with new stitch, we're going to remove all that and put new stitches there. Alright, let's continue. Now these are the corks that we're going to fill that void right there. So, I'm not sure if you can see this, but you see how bumpy that is? Well, that's the shape of the foot. That's the foot making an impression on the footbed. That's what you're stepping on the inside here. So we're going to not really change that shape too much, because what happens is that if you flatten that piece out too much, then the customer needs to break the shoes in again all over, which is going to be a little bit uncomfortable at first because it's got to go through the break-in period basically. So when we recork it, we try not to change too much of that shape, because after all, that is his foot shape, and once he puts the shoes on, it's going to feel very comfortable because he's used to that feel, those bumps in there. Now I get some customers who send me some used shoes. They buy offline, and it has the impression of somebody else's foot. Now in that case, what we do, we'll wet the footbed, okay, soften that leather up a little bit, and put it in a press. And the press is basically flattening out that footbed, so the new customer, the new owner of the shoe, will have a chance to form the footbed to the shape of their foot. Now most of the feet are very similar to each other. You've got the ball of the foot, which is where most pressure is. That's where it kind of, you know, forms that bump. Then you got your big toe, and basically that's about it. So right here and about right here we'll have some indentations. Not so much on the arch or on the heel. Maybe on the heel a little bit. It gives it a little bit of cut, but most of those are right where the forepart is of the foot. Now we've got the soles cut out. Okay. This particular one, we're not going to do JR soles. JR soles are a little premium leather. For those of you who don't know, it's a German product. It's a very good quality leather. Customer chose to do the house leather, which is not too bad. It's much better than what Edmonds uses, so that'll be more durable. So I'm going to stamp the name right here, Edmonds, and it'll say recrafted in the USA. Let me see if I have one. I'll show you. That's in the process of being done. Something like that. Now it's just for looks. It's nothing really structural. It comes the original comes with the Edmonds. I don't know if you can tell that. It's right there. Comes with that stamp. I just put it on there just to make it look like the way it was. Let that dry a little bit. Now the glue I'm using is it's a Masters all-purpose cement. I like this glue. I've been using it for many years. It dries pretty quick. I'm happy with it. There's a lot of glues on the market. People use different kinds. Just use what's best for you. That's all. And I choose this one. Alright. We're going to fill in the sides of the shank with cork. Not necessarily on top of the shank, because you have to sand that off anyway, because that's part of this would be too high if you leave the cork there. Now most manufacturers will use hot cork. Hot cork is basically cork. It's kind of like a putty, okay, and then they'll spread it all over the place. But most repair shops don't have hot cork machines. Well, they don't have, not most. Just the manufacturers have it. Now they do make hot cork in little cans, which you can heat up and and put it in there, put it in the shoe there. I tried it one time. I didn't really care for it too much. This one, the corks also come in sheets, like big pieces, which I'm out of where I showed it to you. Then you cut it out and you put it in there. The idea is to fill in that void, so when you're stepping down, you don't feel the edges. You don't feel these edges right here. So whether you do it with hot cork, you do it with a sheet, you do it with these pre-cut pieces, I think it's irrelevant. I think the idea is that it gets filled in and you're fine. Alright, let's continue. Alright, so I'm going to show you the embossing machine. This is the embossing machine. Embossing machine. Say hello. So basically what it is that you loosen this up, move it out of the way, put another one, whatever you want to put, letters or these little plates that I have. Not sure if it's hot enough yet. We'll figure it out. I wasn't going to show this part of the job, but I can already hear somebody commenting, "Hey Steve, why didn't you show us the way it gets embossed?" So I might as well show it to you. Cool. It's funny that I try to get all the little details. Well, not everything, but the significant ones, But there's always that one guy who wants to see something that I didn't do. And I'm like, damn, I should have done that. So I'm showing that to you guys. Now this machine is, dang, this sucker's tight. This machine's pretty hot, so it's not, it can get hotter. You have to be careful you don't burn yourself. And I've done that before, yes, plenty of times. So now we get to put Recrafted in the USA. Funny story about that. A guy from out of town called me, out of the States. He wants to send me some shoes. I said, yeah, absolutely, no problem, He says, I've been following you on Instagram and on YouTube because I love your work. So he sent me the shoes in, and we were talking. He says, one thing I'd like for you not to put on there is recrafted in USA. I'm like, wait a second. I am recrafting it, and it is in the USA. He says, well, I'd prefer not to have it. And I'm like, no problem. Whatever you want. All right. Most guys don't mind it. If they do, I won't put it on there. It's not a big deal. All right, let's continue. All right. Now we get to hammer the sole onto the shoe. That's coming along pretty good. I'll make sure we have the embossing is almost in the center. Now we've got to press the welt against the sole. Now there is a machine that does that, but it leaves marks on the bottom of the leather. I don't like that. Some people do, but everybody does it differently. This works for me. Let me back this up. I'll show you that machine. This is called a 5-in-1 machine. So it presses. I'm going to do the back of the heel, so I'll show you what I'm talking about. So it kind of squeezes the welt to the sole like that. And then you just turn it like this. See all those marks? I don't know if you can see them or not. Well, I see them. I don't like them. Okay? So it also it presses it and also cuts the access off. I don't know if you can see it here. Let's see if we can move that camera angle there. You gotta make sure you don't cut too much off. Alright. Once the access is cut off, I put it in this press here. Now this isn't the press I was talking about earlier. This is just to kind of flatten the, you know, get a good bond of on the leather sole to the shoe. We'll just leave it in there for a couple of minutes. Okay, loud noise. That's it. We'll leave it like that for a couple of minutes and work on the other one. Now multiply what I'm doing by all these shoes here. These are all, well, at this stage, what I just did with this pair, these are at this stage here. All the soles are put on, and some rubber soles. And now it gets to the next stage of basically we get to trim it and put the heels on and so forth. So those all have to get done. So not too bad. This is a Florsheim Imperial that we're redoing. Cordovan, shell Cordovan. Shell Cordovan is horsehide. Good product. Alright. Now you see my daily work usually. My workload. Well, that's part of my workload, which I'm very grateful, by the way. Now most of those are mail orders, and some are my customers, walk-in customers. And if you guys have any questions about repairs, try to send me an email, okay? If you put on a comment, you know, I might not see it because there's lots of comments that come in. Can you guys see that? Let me see if I can straighten out the phone here for you. Now those are emails and comments mostly. So I get a lot of them that come in. So if you have a question on a particular job, email me. Go on my page there and go to About. It has my email, my address, my phone number. You can call me if you have any questions. Email's Bedos, B-E-D-O-S, @yahoo.com. Because if you email it to me, I'll for sure get it. This way we don't miss each other. And you won't get upset at me for not responding to your comment about a particular job. It's not intentionally that I may not see it, I may not answer it for you. Alright, let's continue. Now once it comes off the press, you sand the edges, give it a rough shape, okay? Close to the welt, but not really sanding the welt too much, just a little bit. Because what happens is that we need to open up a channel here, okay? To countersink the stitches. And the guide of the channel opener follows this shape right here. If this is crooked, then the channel is going to be crooked. So you got to make sure you got a nice shape to the shoe. That's the little blade right there that makes the countersink harder. Like that, and the stitches will sink in there, hence countersink. I usually score the heel at this stage because it's going to be stitched all the way, and you really should sand that before you stitch it. Then once it's stitched, you're going to break the stitches if you sand it. Alright, now we come to, this is the Landis L outsole stitcher. Okay? Basically it stitches on the outside. One of my favorite machines, but boy can it get stubborn sometimes. So if you look at it closely, it went in through the existing holes. It didn't make new holes at all. Now it's kind of hit and miss with that because there is a guide on the machine where this is the stitch, the width of the stitch, and you know, you kind of second guess after all these years that you've done it. And most of the time it goes in the same holes. Now this was the heel base I was telling you guys about. You see how one side is taller than the other. Pretty cool, right? Now these are the exact heels that Alan Edmonds uses. I tracked down the manufacturer who made it for him, and I ordered a bunch, so, you know, for this reason, because I wanted to make sure I got the same thing. If I'm replacing the heel bases on them, I want it to be exact. I mean, I can make these out of leather, but more time, more money, and why not keep it original? I guess it's okay sometimes. So now, at this stage here, we're going to trim the edges, okay? Trimming the edges, basically, some people do, they'll go to, you know, sandpaper, smoother sandpaper, not this coarse one, and they'll sand the edges. I use a trimmer for that. This is a trimmer. Now, if you look at it, it's got a little pattern on there. There's little areas right here, okay, that kind of gives it a little bit of a bead on the edge. I'll show you real quick what I'm talking about. See it or not. No, you're not gonna be able to see it. I'll show it to you after it gets done. When it's black shiny, you'll see that it's a little lip right here on the edge. Okay, I think it gives it a nice unique look rather than just flat with the sandpaper. Okay, all right, let's continue. Okay, now this is the heating iron that is warming up. Basically, it looks like that. Same design as the trimmer that we just trimmed the edges with. Okay? Once this gets heated up, I put a little wax on it, and then it's basically burnishing the edges. Crushing that wax right into the fibers of the leather. Gives it a smoother finish. Kind of seals that color in so it doesn't lose its color over time very fast. Let's see if we can see that bead now that I was talking about. Do you see that little edge right there? I just think it gives it more of an elegant look. I like it like that. A little bit more work doing it this way rather than just sanding it and putting some edge dressing on there and then setting it out the door. Everybody does it differently. This is the way I do it. Alright, let's continue. Alright, so now, after it's dried and give it some shape to it, we're going to clean the surface. Now, I use a little bit of thinner and turpentine, basically. Now you can use acetone if you really have a lot of buildup on the uppers. There are lots of products out there. You can use home remedy, which is rubbing alcohol. If it's not too much of a buildup on there, you just want to kind of clean the surface gently to remove the excess polish and wax buildup. You see all that already. Now I'm turning the towel over so you're not pushing the old polish back into the leather. Even though it doesn't seem dirty, but man, it's got a lot of buildup on there, which is normal. It's a shoe. I mean, if it gets polished over time, it's going to get built up. So I won't be too concerned about that. Just clean it up. So you're going to continue this until you don't see much coming off. Is it going to remove 100% of it? Probably not. Alright. We're going to let that dry. Yeah, we got the right size shoe trees this time. Remember at the beginning how we gave it a bath? Well, that was mainly to get rid of all the salt stains. And it did a pretty good job, actually. There's still some unevenness in the surface of the leather, but I'll take care of that, no problem. So this is basically, you're removing the buildup. Old polish buildup. Don't forget inside of the tongue area there. Now once we let this dry about 30 minutes or so, we'll come back and apply some moisturizers to it. Alright, let's continue. Alright. Now, this is a sapphire bottle, but I like the shape of the bottle. It's very convenient. And I use Bic 4 leather conditioner on there. I know I should get its own bottle, but you know what, I got so used to using that. Now I use Sapphire too. It's a good product, you know. It's just I kind of like this one a little better. We get it by the gallon. So basically what you're doing, you're just moisturizing the leather now, okay? Just like you moisturize your skin, you put lotion on your skin, this is a similar way. You're hydrating the leather because it went through pretty much a good beating with the with the wash and also the thinner, cleaner. You need to replenish those oils back in. Now you could use whatever you want to apply it with. I use a sponge. I do some upholstery work, so leftover sponge pieces, I cut them up and I use them like that. It works pretty good. You can use an old t-shirt. You can use your hand. Whatever you want. As long as you get the job done, that's all that matters. Now once we apply this on here, we're going to leave it here for about, I mean you can leave it in there about maybe 20 minutes. But I like to leave it for about an hour or so. Not really longer than that, that's good enough. So once we come back, we're going to apply some cream to it and add some color. Alright, let's continue. Alright, so we've got this stuff here. Now at this stage you can use anything you want, okay? I use other products also. Now depending on the job, depending on the customer, sometimes they request that we use certain products on their shoes. And we will. Whatever the customer wants. Now all you're doing is applying the cream onto the surface, adding a little bit of color. Now again, you can use a brush, a little dauber brush. You can use your fingers, a rag, whatever you want, you can use. Now also, you're going to get a lot of old wax buildup or polish on the brogan areas and the toe medallion. Now, if you're really serious about your shining or taking care of shoes, get a little sharp object, like a toothpick would work, home remedy type, you know, and just push on these little patterns right there. What it's going to do, it's going to break up that buildup, and that toe medallion is going to be much more visible once it gets done. Yes, it's tedious, but you want to do it nice, you take the time to do it. And then you can continue here all over the brogan if you want to do. Now, I've got an air gun that I use myself. Now, it doesn't get all the holes, or the, you know, but majority of them will get cleaned up. Okay? The ones that don't get cleaned up, they're pretty stubborn. Then you can come back with your little pick and work way around. And we're going to let this sit for about another 20 minutes or so, and we'll come back and buff it on the machine. Alright, let's continue. Now I use my high-speed buffer to do the uppers. I mean, obviously you don't have this at your house. In your living room somewhere? Maybe the dining room? Anyway, you can get some small handheld brushes. You don't need something like this if you're not a serious, you know, like you don't have a business or anything like that. I mean, it's coming along pretty good, actually. So far, so good. So we'll let that sit a little more and come back and buff it again. Alright, let's continue. Alright, so at this stage we've got the heel base on. Okay. Then we're going to nail that heel base on. Now you got to be careful. You can't use too long of nails, or else it's going to come through the inside. Now, in most of the Allen Edmonds, they don't have a sock liner. Sock liner is a piece of leather that covers those details. So if it had a sock liner, we would remove it, we would nail everything, or sometimes we would nail it from the inside to secure the heels and the heel base. Then we would put the piece of leather on top again. But with this style, you're not going to be able to do that. This is just enough to grab onto the whatchamacallit, the leather sole. And once that's done there, we wipe that surface with a little thinner to remove some of the dust and debris and the dirt from it. So the better you have, the better contact you have between two rubber pieces with less contamination, the better that's going to hold and not fall apart and come off again. Because most of the time, the biggest fails of heels coming off or top lifts coming off, because there's an air pocket inside somewhere, and with the movement, usually just comes off. All right, let's continue. Alright, welcome back. We are done with another project. Now, could I have done more? Well, yes, absolutely. But this type of job is your basic job, which is the house leather and Vibram heels. And this is what the customer wanted. Now we could, you know, there's lots of options to do things. JR soles, Vibram, the combination heels. Then I can get a little creative, but it's really up to the customer and their budget. So this particular job, which is a house leather and Vibram heels, like I said, usually starts at $180. This particular job was about $240 because of the uppers. The uppers are in bad shape. So now, I mean, they're fairly like brand new shoes now. I think he'll be happy with it. Oh, some of you may notice that my videos may be better, like clearer, crisper. Well, my number 2 son wanted the phone, and number 1 boy had a 7 Plus iPhone. So we went to get him a new phone, get the young one a new phone. It was an i10, it was a 10, and they gave you another phone at no charge. So when the older one heard this, he decided to take the new phone and give me his 7 Plus, which that's what I'm recording on, the 7 Plus. This was my old phone before. So it might be a little clearer, so that'd be kind of cool. I mean, I can kind of sense it myself to see it, that it's kind of brighter a little bit. Okay, so like I said before, anytime you guys have a question, okay, please go on my main page right there on YouTube, and if you could kind of go scroll through there, let's see, I'm still learning. When you're right here, go to About, and it'll have all my information there. Whatchamacallit, name, address, phone number. God, you can't see it on the phone here. There you go. Well, you'll get it. You get the idea. You know, just go on there, and this is all my contact information. Anytime you guys have any questions, please email me, call me, whatever you want to do. Try not to put it on the comment section because, again, I might not see it. I don't want you getting upset at me that I didn't see it. Check this out here. 1,321,339 views. That is all. I don't even know what that means, but that is awesome. All right. Well, thanks for joining me again. We'll see you next time. Any comments you have, any shares you'd like to make, we'd greatly appreciate it. All right, we'll see you again next time. Take care.